China recently confirmed their Xi'an H-20, their first ever long-range strategic stealth bomber. The new aircraft threatens to change the balance of power in the world, because currently the United States is the only nation to operate an expensive strategic stealth bomber fleet like the B-2. China's military even revealed a video showing an H-20 prototype in what's called a flush air data sensing wind tunnel test. You guys, I don't think Xi Jinping is going to be happy with this. What is this, a stealth bomber for ants? FADS, or FADS, is used to gather data, collect speed and angle of attack information, but others believe this is just a distraction to keep the H-20's final real configuration secret. This new Chinese stealth bomber is the type of aircraft that's sent to destroy an entire enemy airfield or soften up defenses for an invasion. The H-20 would have major ramifications for a possible invasion of Taiwan if it's able to evade their air defense systems. Wait a second, how did China get this technology in the first place? In 2014, in a highly publicized cyber attack by Chinese-backed groups based in Canada, over 630,000 documents were stolen from US companies like Lockheed Martin and Boeing. Those documents notably included several blueprints on the F-22 and F-35 programs, which assisted in augmenting the stealth capabilities of upgraded J-20s. Soon after 2016, the People's Liberation Army Air Force Commander General Ma Shouxian publicly announced that China was developing a new generation of long-range bomber that would see first production within the next decade. He explained that the aircraft would contain many of the 5th-generation aircraft stealth technologies found on the J-20, a range of at least 8,500 kilometers, a 10 metric ton payload capacity, and an ability to deploy both conventional and nuclear munitions, though some reports show that the payload capacity could be as high as 45 tons in different configurations. Listen guys, I'm gonna be honest, I really like what I see here, but I don't think we've reached perfection yet. Is there any way we can make it look even more like a ripoff of the American B-2 bomber? It's speculated this same year that the Chinese firm Xi'an Aircraft Industrial Corporation partnered with the 603 Aircraft Design Institute and began drawing up plans for a future long-range strategic stealth bomber. China has been hinting at this aircraft since the early 2000s, with cryptic talk about an aircraft representing strategic historical significance, slick recruiting videos, and some super cool office desk accessories, just to name a few. Prototype toy models sound like fun and games until you realize the world's top aircraft experts closely follow and study footage of these models for hints to the H-20's capabilities and mission set. Andreas Ruprecht is a Chinese military aviation expert who was one of the first to share these images on Twitter. He said, quote, "We have for some time had several hints, including in academic papers, that some sort of foldable fins might be incorporated. I joke about the H-20 being a knockoff of the American B-2 bomber, but there is evidence that these models suggest it will end up having a unique design and look. Many of you will also likely notice the similarity to some of Russian and Chinese recent drone designs." Now, the PLA has a long history of copying military hardware, from small arms to tanks. If they can get their hands on a new set of blueprints, there's a good chance that they're going to try to make a version of it. And they certainly aren't shy about it either, with 160 US citizens having been arrested since 2000 on espionage charges for selling classified information to China. And thanks to them, service members everywhere get to take super exciting online training courses to prevent insider threats like these. To be fair, the United States also does everything they can to steal or copy foreign military equipment that they like. Copying is the greatest form of flattery, even when it's really illegal. But China's military doesn't need to entirely rely on stealing information. They can go picking through our garbage also. There were rumors and reports flying around in the late 1990s that China had gotten a hold of a crashed American stealth F-117 Nighthawk that was shot down in Yugoslavia. Could Chinese engineers have reverse engineered our radar avoiding technology? Yeah, probably, especially when they have one of our guys helping them piece the puzzle together. In 2005, Nosher Gawadi was arrested for selling classified stealth technology to China. He was the chief designer of the American B-2 stealth bomber and an engineer with Northrop, who, in his own words, was the father of the technology that protects the B-2 stealth bomber from heat-seeking missiles. he's serving a 32-year prison sentence now. That's what happens when you break the Arms Export Control Act. Focusing on its nuclear capability for a bit, there's a strategic concept called the nuclear triad, which in short means a nation is capable of launching nuclear weapons from land-based silos, ocean-based submarines, and now for China, long-range strategic stealth bombers. Once a nation achieves this nuclear triad, it's essentially impossible to prevent their nuclear capability. You can strike against all stationary land-based silos, maybe get lucky with intercepting the submarine missiles, but you aren't going to manage to take down all of their stealth bombers before they reach their targets. Think of it as Xi Jinping getting the last Infinity Stone, except instead of only smoking half of us, it takes out all of us in a global thermonuclear war. The nuclear triad achieved by air is accomplished not only by its stealth capabilities, but the H-20 aircraft's estimated range of 8,500 kilometers or 5,280 miles without the need for mid-air refueling. For reference, this would allow the H-20 to stealthily strike any land targets in Europe, Japan, Korea, the Philippines, and the US territory in Guam or Second Island chain. An updated report from the DoD claims estimates now put the range at 10,000 kilometers or 6,200 miles. While it's still short of the over 6,700 mile range of the current B-2 bomber, China still has some tricks up its sleeve that they could use in effect to extend the range not only to Hawaii, which holds major US Army and naval bases, but even the west coast of the United States. So what do we know about this secretive H-20 stealth bomber's new weapon systems? Where can we make some good educated guesses? And is this something that the American DoD needs to be worried about, or is it just another cheap knockoff that you could buy on wish.com? But before we get into that, learning is a lifelong pursuit, whether you're looking to segue into a new career or advance your skills to become more attractive in the job market. National University was founded by a military veteran in 1971 with the understanding that you live a busy life, and they do everything to help accommodate you with that, with rolling enrollment each month. They offer over 75 different affordable degree programs, credentials, and certificates. You have the flexibility to choose between online courses from anywhere or in person at their beautiful on-site campus in San Diego, California. National University has over 41,000 students and 200,000 alumni. National University even has a dedicated military benefits team and enrollment advisors that offer credits for your military experience. The thing that drew me to National University is that they're a student-centered, world-class education system that offers quality, market-relevant programs. National University champions education designed to support the whole you. Now, select veterans are eligible for discounts for themselves and family members. Jumpstart your career and apply today by clicking the link in our description below. But what kind of weapon and munitions would this stealth bomber drop if its stealthiness is truly able to match the American aircraft? It would drop a copycat of the same bomb that the American stealth bombers use, of course, a JDAM copycat. China created the FT-PGB in 2006, which is a family of Chinese-built, precision-guided munitions created at the China Academy of Launch Vehicle Technology. They range from 100 kilograms to 500 kilograms. The F-12 variant has a rocket booster that can be attached to extend its range to 150 kilometers, providing a release velocity of 600 to 1,000 kilometers per hour. So what is the China Academy of Launch Vehicle Technology? I'm glad you hypothetically asked, because I had no idea as well. It's a major state-owned civilian and military space launch vehicle manufacturer in China. CALT, as it's abbreviated, has over 30,000 employees and at least 13 research facilities. In November 2020, US President Donald Trump issued an executive order prohibiting US companies and individuals owning shares in CALT that the US Department of Defense has listed as having links to the People's Liberation Army. CALT are also the ones sending Chinese satellites into space, which is a huge part of the H-20 stealth bomber's puzzle, because a lot of people forget the stealth bomber is only as good as the military satellite network supporting it, and China's trying to play catch up there. Damn it, I'm an infantryman, not a scientist. The FT-PGB munitions use a variety of satellite guidance to track their target. It uses the Western GPS and Russian GLONASS, as well as a Chinese Baidu navigation system, which is like their version of GPS. Because so much of the H-20 is still under wraps and no one has leaked its information on video games forums quite yet, we'll need to look at how the United States uses its own flying wing stealth bombers to get an idea of how the new H-20 would be used. There are three primary ways for a bomber to extend its range in order to hit a target, which are mid-air refueling, changing its launching location, and using self-propelled munitions. You can have the stealthiest aircraft in the world hiding from any sensor you throw at it, but that refueling tanker is going to glow on a radar screen brighter than a Christmas tree in July. A second method of extending the bomber's range is the use of forward operating locations, or FOLs. These are generally smaller military bases either in distant national territories or in friendly partnered nations that allow a military to extend their ability to quickly deploy forces globally. Currently, China is developing its capacity for both, with the buildup of Chinese airstrips in the South China Sea and their usage of the Belt and Road Initiative, where through economic aid in foreign nations, they're constructing airstrips and facilities that can be used if needed for military purposes. China currently has 4 operational nuclear-capable cruise missiles that would be able to be loaded into an internal rotary launcher unit. Specifically, in this case, is the HN-2 and HN-3 subsonic low observable cruise missiles, which can have a range between 1,400 and 3,000 kilometers. And this strategy would allow the H-2 to leverage the other 2 methods of extending their range much more effectively. Because a cruise missile doesn't have to make a return trip, it effectively adds twice its own range to the range of the aircraft. For example, if an H-20 launches an HN-3 missile with a range of 3,000 kilometers, it shaves 6,000 total kilometers off the flight. Not only would this allow the H-20 to hit targets further inland of the continental United States, but it would also allow it to refuel or launch from less conspicuous locations, overall making it much harder to detect or analyze its purpose. This possibility is supported by the report that the H-20 will contain an active electronically scanned array radar using antenna to conform to the body of the aircraft and would be used to guide munitions like cruise missiles onto the target. But the billion-dollar question about the H-20 is whether or not Taiwan's anti-air systems like the Patriot could detect it. While the PLA didn't respond to my emails asking exactly how stealthy this plane is, we can make a pretty good guess by looking at how its physical design affects radar return, and the stealth capabilities of its cousin the J-20. We can get a rough idea based on some known stealth factors of both American and Chinese aircraft. Before we start analyzing the combined stealth capabilities, it's important to remember that not only are calculated capabilities closely guarded secrets, but also incredibly hard to determine, and can vary from any number of things like types of detection systems, angle of detection, speed of aircraft, weather, and all that stuff. Just understand that when internet analysts like myself talk numbers behind stealth detection, it's important to take it with a grain of salt. First, we'll look at China's other stealth aircraft, the J-20. While it has a relatively small radar cross-section, or how large it appears on radar, it's estimated to be anywhere between half a square meter to 3 square meters. Compare this to the American equivalent F-22 and F-35, which boast a .0001 and 0015 square meter cross-section respectively. The B-2, despite its large size, has the exact same RCS as the F-22 because of its flying wing design. For reference, this means that the B-2, with its 172 wingspan to a radar, is the same size of a B. With those numbers in mind, we can roughly estimate that the H-20's radar cross-section to be on the lower end of the J-20 statistics, which could possibly allow it to pass through long-range early detection radars, but not higher band air defense radars. From all of this, we can determine that it's not likely the H-20 is going to be anywhere on par with the American B-21, and likely is not even on par with the B-2 Spirit in terms of range, stealth, or capabilities. But does that mean we shouldn't worry about it? Like most military equipment, it's only as useful as how smart you are using it. When asked what makes the American B-2 program so successful, Lieutenant Colonel Christopher Conant, the 393rd Expeditionary Bomb Squadron commander in charge of all B-2 Spirit platforms, said, quote, "In the B-2 community, we see mission planning is our primary tactic, and our quality of mission planning is what sets us apart. Meaning regardless of how good your plane is, how you use it is more important. The entire purpose behind the flying wing design is to reduce its signature both on high-frequency, short-range radar systems and also low-frequency, long-range, early warning radars. This is a critical point of stealth tech because these aircraft are required to fly well within the range of enemy sensors in order to conduct their mission set, ideally without relying on escort fighter aircraft. Now, stealth technology essentially works not by trying to make the aircraft invisible both literally and figuratively, but through a combination of smooth geometry, reduced heat signature, and radar disruptive coating. With this, an aircraft can basically trick a radar system into thinking it's much smaller than it actually is. By doing this, it either makes its signature so small that the radar can't detect it, or at the very least small enough to where it could be confused for any number of things like a bird, a bug, or a balloon. It achieves this through a number of design features, such as its 4 engines that are buried into overall shape of the fuselage, lack of visible vertical stabilizers during flight, even things like ensuring the screws on the fuselage are flush with the frame helps it achieve the level of stealth required to be used effectively. A state-run Chinese publication called Modern Weaponry, a monthly magazine run by the Chinese weapons manufacturer Norinco, published a 3D rendering of what they claim to be the new H-20 aircraft. But these are strangely dismissed by another state-owned publication, the political tabloid Global Times, claiming that these images were fake news. Hey, now they're stealing our slang, not just our blueprints? Funny enough, some of the best ideas we have as to what the final H-20 will look like come in the form of a desk decoration, gifted to 2 Chinese pilots during a state-sponsored flag ceremony in August of 2022. The displays prominently show 2 very distinct vertical stabilizers. This falls in line with other reports that the H-20 will include a set of stabilizers that can be retracted back into the fuselage and extended when the pilot needs more maneuverability. And these models look near identical to the ones published in the original magazine. This is more evident when you consider that it would be incredibly effective in a campaign closer to the Chinese mainland, such as Taiwan or Japan in the South China Sea. In July 2022, Chinese state media suggested the H-20 was close to within taking its maiden flight and could be operational in a few short years. While there's still a lot we don't know and we won't know for a while, we're starting to see how the H-20 is taking shape, and it will definitely be a development to follow as we get closer to the H-20's first operations. If you guys found this video useful in some way, please consider hitting the like and subscribe button. I'm your average infantryman, Cappy. Thank you guys very much for your time. Thank you for watching.